this past weekend was the return of the towering Inferno. Sebastian Fundora returned to take on a one-time Thurman, former welterweight champion.
And Sebastian Fundora right now is in his prime. He's looking dangerous. So he went in there and he started putting a whooping, belt to ass, on Keith Thurman.
Or press conference, I should say. Thurman was very vocal, very upset about the stoppage. He went at the referee stating that it was a bad stoppage.
Whoever the fuck that referee was, don't hire him for fucking main event shit ever again, man. Real talk.
With that being said, though, the result was not in question. Sebastian Fundora was going to eventually stop him.
This is a very good version of Fundora. What's next for him? Because we also have big talks about Xander and Boots signing a contract.
It's time. You know, he's ready for the biggest fights. I'd like to see him against Vergil Ortiz.
Welcome back to another episode of the Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. Today's episode will be going over Sebastian Fundora's win over Thurman, as well as Moses Itauma and Deontay Wilder versus Chisora. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. And now diving into the episode. This past weekend, the big fight that took over was the return of the towering Inferno. Sebastian Fundora returned WBC champion to take on a one-time Thurman, former welterweight champion. This fight, what we all predicted, it kind of went according to script. Sebastian Fundora came out on top with a 6-round stoppage over the former welterweight champion, retaining his WBC belt and moving onward towards the best division in boxing today. First off, thoughts about the fight?
Yeah, this is exactly what Fundora wanted. You know, he wanted to make a statement at the start of the year, and he did that with Keith Thurman. We said this going into the fight. You know, Keith Thurman, his best days are behind him. And Sebastian Fundora right now is in his prime. He's looking dangerous. So he went in there and he started putting a whooping, belt to ass, on Keith Thurman. So I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
Yeah, but what about Keith Thurman, bro? Is this the last time we're going to see of Keith Thurman? Because, to be honest, this was a bad whooping, you know what I'm saying? And this is the first time that he's ever looked this bad. So, at the rep age of 37 now, like, you know, where does he go from here?
I think it's time to retire for him. You know, like, he got nothing else to prove. He was a unified champion at 147. He's a great fighter. You know, and now at 154, he's shorter than everybody. He's not in his prime. Like, he's not looking like he's dangerous. I think it's just time to call it a day, because 154, we always say 154 pounds is the best division right now, stacked competition. So he's not going to be able to beat any of the champions.
Yeah, even during his post-fight interview or press conference, I should say, Thurman was very vocal about and very very upset about the stoppage. He went at the referee stating that it was a bad stoppage, claiming that he was, you know, still in there. He was alive. He was moving around. You know, he said that he was only getting hit, you know, with backhand shots by Fundora. He stated that Fundora during that point was, you know, coming in a bit, you know, with wide shots. So he said that maybe in 4 minutes time he was gonna, you know, connect Fundora with a shot that could have changed the momentum of the fight. But anyone watching that fight, we were witnessing, especially the fourth, fifth, and then ultimately the last round, we're witnessing Fundora doing what he does best, and that's breaking down his opponent.
Yeah, and I'll give Keith Thurman some grace. I do think the stoppage was a little too early. You know, I mean, this is for a world title at 154 pounds. Like, you got to give him some time, right? With that being said, though, the result was not in question. Sebastian Fundora was going to eventually stop him and put like a real beating on him. He messed up his face, you know, so he was already putting the hands on him. Now, I think, you know, Keith does have a point. It should have gone out a little longer. With that being said, though, I mean, it was just a matter of time.
You know, I was in agreement with Keith Thurman about the stoppage. It did look kind of wonky. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the referee stepped in at the right time. But, you know, he was gonna get stopped, and I think it's better that he got stopped this way by TKO instead of by KO. You know what I'm saying? You know, we had a Moses Itauma just completely knock out Franklin with a single punch. You know what I'm saying? That was gonna be Thurman. Yeah, if that fight wasn't gonna get stopped. So like, yeah, I mean, I could have seen Thurman go for like another like 2 rounds, but they were gonna be hell. You know what I'm saying? So I think it wasn't a. I don't like the way he stopped it, but I'm glad that he did stop it.
Yeah, it was gonna come sooner rather than later. So ultimately, we were witnessing Fundora at his best, and what he's been showing in his last few fights, which is an improvement on his style. He's been working from the jab. He's been finally using his reach, his physical attributes to his advantage, and you're looking at these performances he's doing against Booker, against Zoo in the rematch, and now against Thurman. He's completely obliterating these guys in grand fashion while not taking or not receiving as much damage as he would normally take prior to the Mendoza knockout. So this is a very good version of Fundora. I saw a lot of people online praising him for it, saying that this was the best version of him. They were very happy with his performance. Then again, I also saw the other side of boxing claiming that this fight, you know, even though Fundora did look good, he was fighting Thurman in a fight that doesn't really, you know, help him in any case. Thurman, people were claiming, was already old, too small for the weight, not a big, you know, competitive fighter to Fundora at this moment in his career. So there's a lot of backlash regardless of the dominant win that Fundora portrayed this past weekend. So now that we're done with the Thurman era for Fundora, what's next for him? Because we also have big talks about Xander and Boots signing a contract, and that fight is for unification at the 154. So that's a big matchup right there for later down the year. What's next for Fundora as the WBC champion?
I think it's time. You know, he's ready for the biggest fights. It's time to go undisputed. And he's got to start chasing the guys down. You know, Xander and Boots, it looks like they got that contract signed. Looks like they're going to be moving forward, which good for Boots. You see Eddie Hearn, you know, doing all that work. You know, he gets his fighters into world title fights immediately. So that's what, you know, they need Eddie Hearn in their life, you know. So, but I don't know. I think, honestly, I'd like to see him against Vergil Ortiz. I think that'd be a great fight. Vergil Ortiz, I believe, is the interim champion. So that's a mega fight right there. I know Vergil doesn't have a world title, but he is the interim champion. It is his right to get a fight against a champion. And it's going to be a spectacle. I mean, that's going to be a very, very lucrative, big money fight. So I think he's ready. He's got to start showing us, you know, real competition. Because, yeah, Keith Thurman, you know, he was a unified champion. His heyday is gone. Now I want to see some actual killers like Vergil Ortiz.
Yeah, I think last year for Fundora was such a great year for him. You know what I'm saying? He looked spectacular, and then now with this fight, he looked really good. And I think the whole boxing community wants to see him against some of these other killers. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see him up against the winner of Boots and Zayas or Ortiz. You know, I don't want to see him fight anybody else. I think those are the guys that are you know, dangerous, and you know, like Ortiz, man. You know, it's very unfortunate, you know, his position, but yeah, he deserves a title shot, bro. So, and I think you know, he's championship material, and I think he's gonna be able to put up a great fight against Fundora.
Yeah, I mean, Vergil at this moment, of course, he's dealing with the whole legal issues with Golden Boy and whatnot, and in return to that, I mean, a lot of people go at Vergil saying he's a 28-year-old prospect. He's never going to win a world title, this and that. And I'm like, yo, like, how can you, you know, I understand he hasn't been a world champion yet in his career. But to say stuff like that, like he's a prospect, of course he's not a prospect. He's beaten 2 good fighters at 154 in Bohachuk and Madrimov. And now people are saying, oh, Bohachuk was never that good. Madrimov was never that good. They're finding ways to kind of diminish those wins in Vergil Ortiz's record, which I don't agree with. I think those are still great wins to have compared to even Fundora. Fundora, his biggest win would be Tim Tszyu. The first fight, people would often consider that a bit questionable just because of the cut and how it affected the outcome of the fight. But for sure, the rematch was a very dominant performance. But then people would say, oh, that version of Tim Tszyu in the rematch was already finished, considering he had come off right off the Madrimov loss. So people don't really give him that. Regardless, you look at Fundora's resume, and you could make the argument that Vergil might have a better one. Then again, Fundora does have Hammer Time Lubin in there. He has Tim Tszyu. I guess he's got one-time Thurman in there. So I think that's the fight to make next, Vergil against Fundora. I'm big fans of both of these fighters, so seeing them go up against each other would break my heart. Seeing who, regardless of the outcome. So that's definitely one of the biggest fights to make at that division. And I saw a lot of people saying they should make a 4-man tournament. Sebastian Fundora versus Vergil, Boots, Xander. Winner fights each other, and losers fight the losers. So what are you guys' thoughts about that? Vergil and Sebastian, who do you guys have that for? Early predictions for a win?
No, I don't want to say anything, bro, because it's like what you said. I like both of these fighters, and they're both dangerous. And until we see that fight made, then I'm gonna say something. But like right now, I don't know if Vergil Ortiz is gonna be able to fight this year, bro. Because, bro, what the fuck is this, bro? You know
Oscar De La Hoya, man. Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah, it's not. It really sucks for him because I know he's a very active guy. He likes to stay in the ring and fight, but sometimes things are out of your control. He's right now in a legal battle with Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions, and it's sad, bro. Yeah, because people do be talking. Xander be talking hella shit to Vergil Ortiz. He dropped like another video, saying calling him a prospect, all this type of stuff. Like it's crazy. It's insane. So, yeah, I don't know. Xander got something against Ortiz. I think he's just jealous, I think, because you put them together, Vergil coming out on top easily. So, in regards to Ortiz and Fundora, I mean, I'd love to see that fight. I think that's definitely a fight that should happen because Ortiz is the interim champion. So, it makes sense that fight is next. It's a big money fight. I do like both of them. Prediction, I'm really not sure. I mean, this is That's a hard fight, very hard fight. I'd say that Ortiz has better experience and he's more battle tested than Fundora. But Fundora being 6'5", 6'6", at 154 pounds, I mean that's criminal. Yeah. Like the size advantage is insane. He's the tallest world champion today. he's
not heavyweight.
And he's not a heavyweight. He's taller than Onomatopoeia. He's taller than Usyk. No. He's the tallest world champion. He's fighting at 154. It's absolutely insane.
Bro's cheating, bro.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's so hard. Like it's so hard to just beat someone like that with that size advantage. It has been done before. Brian Mendoza did knock him out. He caught him clean with the hook and got him out of there. So it is possible. But with that being said, Fundora has been improving so much that, I mean, every single fight he gets better. So it's going to be really hard to beat that guy. But if someone can do it, I think it's Vergil Ortiz Jr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a big firework fight. That matchup between Fundora and Ortiz. But then again, this whole legal battle between Ortiz and Golden Boy, for sure, people are speculating that Ortiz will be sitting on the shelf for the next year or two. So that's the speculation online. Of course, I like looking online, I like seeing the reaction of people. But I don't know about that the whole year. Maybe the year, which is for me very bad in general. But hopefully sometime during the fall he can return. Who knows? It all depends on how this legal battle takes place. But in the meantime, Fundora is retaining his WBC championship belt, and he moves onward towards solidifying himself as perhaps the best 154-pounder in the world. However, there is a name within these rankings that I'm looking at that I feel like is a bit underrated. The boy Brandon Adams. Remember Brandon Adams, the man who beat Bohachuk not once, but twice, knocked him out in the first one and gave him an absolute ass whooping in the rematch. Brandon Adams, look at this. He's ranked number 3 in the IBF. Number 1 and 2 aren't even rated there. He is ranked number 2 in the WBC, and he's ranked number 1 in the WBO. So he's ranked in the top 5 in 3 out of the 4 sanctioning bodies. So if anything, I mean, he could fight. Brandon Adams could fight Josh Kelly, because you remember Josh Kelly was a speculated opponent for Xander before Boots came along. Maybe that could be a potential matchup. If Vergil Ortiz can't get an opportunity against Fundora, Brandon Adams could get an opportunity right there. And so Brandon Adams, sneaky underdog, dark horse, I would say, same as Caballero in the heavyweights during the time. So that's another big opponent in the making who could potentially make a lot of noise within the 154 division. But regardless, Fundora defends his WBC belt as he stops one-time Thurman in the 6th round and moves forward towards perhaps unifying and becoming ultimately undisputed at the 154 division. Now let us move forward towards the big boys, the heavyweight division, where we had the hot up-and-coming contender now, Moses Itauma, as he obliterated, beheaded, decapitated Jermaine Franklin this past weekend in a very stunning KO that had me a bit shook and a little bit concerned for Franklin, the way he got sparked out like that. But impressive win by the young 21-year-old Moses Itauma. Thoughts about him?
The Wonder Boy does it again, man. You know, the hype train continues. He's looking amazing. You cannot lie. Moses is looking great. At only 21 years old. I believe he only has like 13 fights. Like, this guy looks really good. That knockout was spectacular. Like, absolutely brutal uppercut. Franklin did not expect that one, and he went face down, ass up. So, shout out Moses. He's the real deal.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised the fact that he got him out under 6. I think that's what the consensus was. That they were expecting him to get him out under 6, and I think he did it right in the 5th round. I think.
Yeah, it was the 5th or 6th.
So props to him, because no one has been able to stop Franklin, not even AJ when AJ fought Franklin. So very good on him. Yeah, I'm just gonna give him his flowers, bro. Yeah. But he's not ready for Usyk. No, if he goes up against Usyk, he's losing. If he goes up against Caballero, he might lose too against Caballero, bro.
I definitely do think he could, because people are obviously, like we talked about this last episode, people are hyping him up a little too much, trying to fight him. Max Kellerman was saying he wants him to fight Usyk. I was like, no, bro, please. But I think, listen, a top 5 guy in the heavyweights, I think it's a great time for Moses, because he's been incrementally getting better opponents. He's still looking amazing, still knocking these guys out. Looks sharp, looks fast, explosive, powerful. I do think he's ready for a step up, But so maybe throw AJ in there. Him against AJ. Why not? Why not? Or call Andy Ruiz, see if he answers the line.
Yeah. Or maybe you can have the winner of Chisora and Wilder.
Maybe. Nothing is impossible. I think I do think he's ready. He's charismatic, and he's got the power, so he's gonna be a dangerous guy for sure, and he's gonna be the future of the heavyweights.
Mm-hmm. I think there is one fighter that we didn't mention that could potentially end the hype train here.
Cool.
Martin Bacoli. We're talking about the man who stopped the hype train of Big Baby Anderson a couple years back, and even though he hasn't looked very impressive as of late, he's been a little bit lethargic, a little bit sluggish in his performance, very underwhelming. When he's on the top of his game, he's on the top of his game. And I mean, Martin Bacoli, I saw a lot of people online, they were, after Itauma won, they're putting up potential matchups for him. One of them, of course, being Caballero. Other ones, here and there. But and the one that someone mentioned was Martin Bacoli. And like I said, Martin Bacoli, we haven't really been talking about him lately because he doesn't really have much going on at the moment. But that's a good step up from Jermaine Franklin to a Martin Bacoli. I mean, that's when we would see the levels of how we'll see how good Moses Itauma really is, because if he's able to obliterate Martin Bacoli in the same fashion that he just obliterated Franklin this past weekend, we got a real big threat in the Itauma at the heavyweight division, and literally the next big heavyweight within the next coming decade. So I'm just saying, Martin Bacoli against Moses Itauma would be a banging matchup.
Yeah, it would. I mean, there's so many other heavyweights that I think it would be a great matchup for this guy.
Put him up against Richard Torres.
Yeah, I don't think Bob Arum would be willing to do that, bro. But I'm talking like guys who were, ex-world champions or guys who fought, world champions, guys who are kind of like gatekeepers, Hrgovic is another guy that I think, would be a good matchup. What I want to see now is just this guy level up. I want to see him up against, tough fighters, guys who have been battle tested, guys who, have been through the ringer and have come out, or guys who have been ex-world champions. I think that's what we want to see, man. Like, if you really are the next big thing over there in the UK, well, now's the time to show it, bro.
Yeah, Fabio Wardley was in attendance.
Right.
He was clapping it up. He's got a matchup with Danny Dubois, and then the winner is gonna fight Usyk. So unfortunately, we can't get that fight, but that would also be a banger fight. I think Fabio Wardley, that boy is like I don't know, man. He's like losing fights, but his power just saves him, and he comes out with the victory. So good on him. But I definitely do think. Listen, Joseph Parker is also there. We got Zhilei Zhang. Throw Zhilei Zhang in there. Like, there's plenty of options for Moses Itauma. I'm interested to see where they go from here because, like, people are completely sold on him. Like, this kid people really believe in him, and the hype train is to the max. So I'm interested to see where he goes.
Well, I'm looking. I remember they spoke about it because Fabio Wardley was there in attendance. He was actually given his scorecard during the fight. But he supposedly Wardley and Itauma are stablemates. And Wardley has stated that even if he does beat Dubois, I mean, that a potential matchup with Itauma is off the table just because, they're stablemates. And I saw a lot of people online after that was said who were very critical about that statement, saying that, first it came up with Shakur and Keyshawn about them not fighting because they're brothers. And then now Wardley stating he wouldn't fight Itauma because they're stablemates. People online were saying, this whole brother stablemates, relationship between fighters is affecting the sport. It's bad. We're not going to get the matchups that we want. Do you guys agree with that? The fact that these stablemates refuse to fight one another, even though they would, move the division forward and they're great matchups in general?
I feel like that's a little dramatic. I think if they were holding up, if they're actually like the two best guys and holding up the entire division, I think that'd be a little bit different. But I mean, Moses is still on his own path right now. Wardley is on his own path right now. It's not like they have to fight each other, And we used to have the Klitschko brothers as well. They ran the heavyweights. So it's not like this hasn't happened before. There's precedent for this. It is kind of unfortunate because I would love to personally see a Shakur versus Keyshawn Davis fight, but because they're really close, they're friends, they're not going to fight each other. So it kind of hurts as a fight fan seeing that. But I still think there's plenty of options for them, and to say that they're killing the sport, I think it's a bit dramatic.
Yeah, there's so many other people within the heavyweight division that I think even though they're not going to fight each other ever, I don't think they were ever going to fight. You know what I'm saying? Moses, 21. Wardley, I'm not actually sure how old he is, but, he's older. You know what I'm saying? And, they're both doing their completely different things. Wardley has a tough matchup against Daniel. So, I mean, maybe he could lose as well. You know what I'm saying? And then he's not the champion anymore.
Exactly.
So then, but yeah, so, yeah. But for sure, I want to see Moses in a tough fight. Like his next fight, it's got to be someone tough. You know what I'm saying? Someone that, is going to be able to not only like handle his power, but find ways around it so that way Moses can use his, ring IQ and we can see other aspects of his game.
Can anyone handle his power? I mean, I think what makes him so dangerous is like the speed that he has. Yeah. The speed, how explosive. He's so light on his feet, man. He's 6'4". Like, I don't even know how much he weighs, but like he's a big dude and he moves like a middleweight. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man. Like he's super relaxed, fast. I love the feints that he does, and his shot selection is amazing as well. So like, just at 21 years old, being that good, he definitely has very high ring IQ. But he has been, the fights that he's gone into, it's expected of him to win. So get him in a fight where, it's a 50-50, like people don't actually know who's going to win, then we're going to see like what he's really made out of.
For sure, we've yet to see the very best out of Itauma, and these coming years we'll definitely see more. Will be revealed more of what level and the potential that he brings to the table in the heavyweight division. But one thing's for sure, he is the victor this past weekend over Jermaine Franklin in a beautiful uppercut that ended the fight as he stayed undefeated and moves forward in his career. But let's move forward to the next topic at hand, the last one, and we stay in the heavyweight division. We go over to the O2 Arena, where we'll potentially see maybe a retirement fight here between Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, taking on Derek War Chisora. Wilder at 40 years old, Chisora at 42. Well, loser could potentially retire here. We might see the very last out of one of these fighters. Or what if it's a draw? Do you think they'll both retire? I mean, shit, you never know. But anyways, we have two 40-year-olds, Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora, past their prime, of course, but up here for Misfits Pro at the O2 Arena this coming weekend. Thoughts about this matchup?
Yeah, man. Listen, I fuck with the Bronze Bomber. We grew up and he was tearing through the division. Now he's not really doing that much. He's not really dominating like he used to. But power is the last thing that goes. And Deontay Wilder, he has the touch of death. He doesn't have to land the punch right. It can be ugly, but he just touches you with that right hand and you're out cold. So I'm still, listen, I'll be happy watching this fight. I'm interested to see Wilder get back in there. Hopefully he's been training. Hopefully he's been training and he's actually 100% there because I'd love to see a highlight reel KO.
No matter what happens between these two old guys, I don't think they're not going to retire. Mm-hmm. I think War Chisora is just one of those guys that's just going to keep going until his own team are like, hey man, I think you got to hang up the gloves.
Yeah.
Wilder, I'm not quite sure. I thought we were gonna not see Wilder anymore, but it's kind of interesting to see him, go up against this Chisora. So, interesting. But yeah, man. I mean, Chisora is the guy who has taken a lot more L's. He's been been on the losing end a lot more, and I think come Saturday night, I think we're gonna see that again. I think Wilder just has to touch you with that right hand, and then he puts you out. When he fought Luis Ortiz, I'm pretty sure he only threw like 20 punches, and then he only landed that one right hand, dropped them, stopped them. So I think that's what we're gonna see. We're gonna see Wilder just kind of not do much, and then just land that right hand, and then just put him to sleep.
I'm not really sure about that. I don't think Wilder is even the same fighter anymore. I mean, he's even his right hand. I haven't really seen anything crazy from it lately in his last couple of fights. He hasn't been a very threatening fighter to deal with, and also a fighter who's gonna pressure him, especially at this stage of his career. I think it's gonna be brutal for him, and I think Derek Chisora brings that to the table. He's a very come forward, aggressive style. That's what you're going to get. And I think that style, especially right now for Deontay Wilder, is going to be a nightmare. I actually think Derek Chisora will be stopping Deontay Wilder. That's my prediction right there. I just think that the pressure is going to be too much. And I don't think the power is going to be as threatening as it once was for the Bronze Bomber. So I'm expecting Derek Chisora to actually get the stoppage win over Deontay Wilder this weekend.
That's a little crazy to me, man. When was the last time Chisora won?
Bro, dude, what are you talking? Bro, he's on a 3-fight win streak. He beat Gerald Washington, he beat Joe Joyce, and he beat Otto Wallen.
When was this? What the fuck?
Bro, he beat Otto Wallen last year back in February. He beat Joe Joyce in the summer of 2024. And then Gerald Washington in 2023. He's been fighting once per year.
Once per year.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of impressive, actually. Maybe I should have done my research a little bit, because I just thought that he was just losing and then just kind of showing up at events and stuff like that. I remember seeing a clip of him trying to get out of fucking Sky Nicholson.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I can go by myself.
She was not fucking with it. No.
Damn, not even with the 3-fight win streak. Damn, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chisora, it is true. I mean, he's like a journeyman for like contenders. Like he's right on that line of he's been a top contender for like a very long time. So like people usually fight him to see where they're at, you know. And I think he's very aggressive. I think that's gonna help him a lot, especially if Deontay Wilder isn't there mentally. Then I don't think he has this fight. So it really is gonna come down to the preparation that both of these guys had, because obviously past their prime. You know, they really gotta just be in the gym. So we're gonna see who actually put the most work in.
Who are you going for?
I don't know. I'd say 50-50.
Okay. Right.
Well, my prediction, I think Derek Chisora will be stopping TKOing Deontay Wilder this week. And I saw a clip of Deontay Wilder training recently in the gym. He was hitting the heavy bag, and I was looking at the replies to the video, and a lot of people were saying, gosh, Wilder's legs are so shot at this point. They're critiquing him so bad.
He's got chicken legs, huh?
Well, it's not even that. They're just saying that he's just so flat-footed, and that he just lacks a lot of stuff nowadays. And I mean, it might be true, and it has been true for a while. He hasn't been the same. That Tyson Fury trilogy for both fighters, both not only Wilder but for Fury too, took a lot out of them, and I think Wilder got the worst out of it just because of the damage that he actually took and the stoppages that he received. So I think we're seeing the lingering effects of that trilogy as of lately from Deontay Wilder, and I don't think we're gonna see anything different this weekend. So I'm predicting, like I stated, Derek Chisora to come out on top, stopping Deontay Wilder TKO. And extending his win streak to 4 fights in a row. Wow, look at that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But you guys, no prediction from you, Rudo?
Yeah, Wilder by stoppage.
Wilder by stoppage. Yeah. Okay. And then the coin toss. So I guess it is 50-50 here in the household. Actually, I'll really mind. I don't really care who wins, to be honest.
Yeah. I
mean, back then maybe I wasn't the biggest Deontay Wilder fan, but as of lately, I'm pretty neutral on him. So even if he wins, I won't be mad about it.
I want Wilder to win, so then he gets on the mic, and then he starts calling for Usyk. Give him one last big payday. Come on. He needs
that boat sailed, bro. He fucked up. He was supposed to fight Usyk, not this Rico guy, bro.
That would have been so. Listen, I was not the biggest fan of that fight, but I understood it. Like, at least it makes sense. Like, I could wrap my head around that. Not Usyk fighting some fucking random ass kickboxer. That shit pisses me off, bro. It should have been Wilder in there.
Well, Wilder will have to show his worth this weekend. What if he's able to successfully knock out Chisora in like the first 2 rounds for first half of the fight? Maybe Usyk's gonna be like, he actually look kind of impressive. Maybe I can get maybe he can be in my hit list for fights later down the line this year. So you never know, man. Maybe Deontay Wilder runs, turns back the clock and showcases the old prime bronze bomber there in the ring at the O2 Arena. But as of right now, nope, I'm predicting Derek Chisora to come out on top. But is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about for today's episode? Nothing. All right. Well, then let us know down below your official predictions for Derek Chisora as he takes on Deontay Wilder. Also, let us know your thoughts on Fundora's dominant performance over one-time Thurman and Moses Itauma's future at the heavyweight division. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. We're on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. This was Pablo, and I'm with Rudo Nasa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.